Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Break. This is our first episode in 2025.
Woo.
And Megan and I are going to talk about what books that we are most looking forward to reading. So it may or may not be some of the books that you guys want to read. Hopefully we're going to bring some kind of less discovered gems to the forefront.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk a little bit at the end about some of the heavy hitters, like some of the big popular authors that are coming out. But I always love going through lists and everything and seeing what's coming out and kind of planning my reading. Do you do that too?
Yeah, especially for this, and I've kind of like set my algorithm now that it keeps sending me like the updated Goodreads lists and all of the, like what are we looking forward to? And I feel like on Book Talk and everything is very much geared towards the new year now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I am super excited. I had a hard time narrowing down my choices because there were so many things that I want to read. So let's just get right into it. The first one I have is called Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. And this one, did you ever read Black Cake or watch the TV series?
No, I haven't.
I can't think of what streaming network that is on, but I really liked that book, and we read it with my book club too. And this one looks like it's going to be another great kind of book club discussion type of thing. It is involving an affluent Black family who has actually been in the country and been in Massachusetts since slavery times. Like one of their ancestors came up and he was a potter. So he made this very unique vase, and the family has always had it in their house. It's kind of been like a talisman for their family. He had some words written on the bottom, and of course a lot of slaves were not allowed to read, so he kind of had to keep this secret. But this has gone through their family, and now they're very affluent. I think mom or dad or maybe both are lawyers. So the problem is one day someone breaks into their home, breaks the vase, and also kills their teenage son. They have 2 children. And so there's a mystery about what happened, like why did someone break into their home? Nothing was really stolen. And his younger sister was actually hiding on the upstairs. So you have this whole family drama, and it flashes back and forth, I believe, that you're going to hear about the ancestors and how they came and why this vase and the other things were important, and also about the family and their present situation, because they're like in a very exclusive, I believe, gated community in like Connecticut or something. So kind of where they came from to where they're going. And to me, there's nothing like a good family story for me, particularly when they have family secrets.
Is it contemporary?
It is contemporary. It's contemporary, but it is going to have, it sounds like going to have historical flashbacks. So you're going to go back in the past and see.
Which I like when they do that, when they do the multi-timeline type stuff.
So I'm really excited about this one. This is probably one of my most, anticipated reads of the year. So.
Yeah, which starting off with my most anticipated read, kind of completely different. It's called All Shall Mourn by Ellie Marney. It's actually a YA thriller series. It's the last in the trilogy, so I don't want to give too much away. It's coming out in February, which I'm really excited for. And so it sets the story in book 1. These 2 teens, Emma and Travis, and they're recruited by the FBI to interview teenage serial killers.
Oh, man.
And it's kind of cool. So Emma is the sole survivor of a serial killer. Travis, his dad, was killed by one of the teen serial killers that they're interviewing.
Oh, gosh.
So in this last book, they're hot off escaping like a copycat of Emma's serial killer, and they're hunting down an escaped one, which is actually the one that killed Travis's dad. So I don't really want to give too much away, but it doesn't really feel like YA, which is kind of so I picked it up a couple years ago when it first came out, and then I stumbled across the second one. I didn't anticipate it being a trilogy, but it's kind of dark sometimes, and it's like a little heavy. Just like they do go a little, it's about serial killers, so you can't really avoid all of that. But then with these 2 teens being so young, it's kind of jarring to like see them have to go through all these life experiences that you would never expect. But I'm pretty excited to see how they get to the end here. It's kind of set the stage for like a big a big showdown a little bit.
Okay, so you've read the other books in the trilogy,
Yes.
I guess. Okay.
Yeah, so it's very fast-paced, really, really engaging, and just like a little dark. And then it gives a cool perspective on like the psychopathy kind of behind those different people. And I don't know, I just kind of loved seeing how quick it went and learning a little bit about the characters.
It's always kind of nice, too, when you found a series that you've really,
Yeah.
attached to. And that sounds like something you can really sink your teeth into. And if you want to binge it, it sounds
Absolutely.
very bingeable.
I know, now that it's all out, because when I read the first one, I think it came out in 2021.
Okay.
And then the last one came out last year in 2023, and I kind of stumbled across it on Goodreads. I was like, is this the same thing? And then it turned out it was going to be a trilogy. So I zoomed through the second one, and I was like, well, now I need the next one.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's coming out in February, and I'm super excited to see how it ends.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot to say my Good Dirt is coming out on January 28th, so end of January. My next one is called Babylonia. And this one of my favorite books of, not last year, but the year before, was a book called Clytemnestra, and it was a mythology retelling by Costanza Casati. And this is this woman's second book. That was a debut. So this one, it's another female, and she is a queen of the Assyrian Empire, which I know nothing pretty much about that, or very little. So I'm kind of excited to, hopefully this one is going to be as good as Clytemnestra
Yeah.
was, but the queen is Semiramis. So nothing about her upbringing could have foretold her legacy or the power she would come to wield. So she was a female ruler, once an orphan, raised on the outskirts of an empire, and no one in ancient Assyria would bend to her command willingly. So she knew she wanted power, and she would claim it. So this is kind of Mesopotamian myth. She was a queen, a warrior, a commander, and supposedly her reputation reached the majestic proportions of Alexander the Great. So I don't know, but of course history on the record stands very quiet on this woman. So
is it a retelling, or is it inspired by?
Inspired by.
Okay.
So this woman kind of weaves like myth and ancient history together. So I would recommend this for people that like historical fiction. A lot of detail, but yet it also reads very quickly, or at least her other one did. I'm definitely reading this one, and it was a Book of the Month Club choice for January.
Oh,
So
nice.
my daughter and I are going to do this one together. It actually publishes January 14th. So, yeah.
Sounds pretty interesting.
Hopefully I can pronounce it.
My next one is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. Also coming out January 14th, actually.
Okay.
And it is very minimal, the summaries I've found online. But I've read her other one. I read Rock, Paper, Scissors and Daisy Darker.
Oh, I love Daisy
Yeah,
Darker.
I thought they were both great.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about this one. It's described as gripping and deliciously dark, about a famous author named Grady Green. And in the wake of a personal tragedy, he retreats to a tiny Scottish island, which initially seems like an ideal haven, but gradually reveals its true nature when he runs into a woman who looks eerily similar to his wife, who mysteriously disappeared a year prior.
Uh-oh.
So that's his tragedy, and that was this woman. And the psychological thriller promises to explore themes of marriage and vengeance. And I mean, that's all I could find anywhere. Goodreads, Amazon, on the internet. But I love a good like secluded island.
Oh yeah,
I don't
and
know.
people, Scotland must be the new like secluded island
Yeah.
place. I've read another book that was something like an artist or something that was set on Scotland that was a mystery.
And I was kind of thinking of like the guest list. I don't know if you
Yes.
read that, like when they're
Yeah.
set on like that, like on the cliff, like overlooking like the ocean.
Right.
But I'm very curious to see about this woman and about him. I kind of have like a feeling of what might be going on, but again, this is all we've got, and I'm sure it's gonna.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure it's gonna surprise me.
yeah.
Twin
That'll
sister.
be a big one for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I've seen a couple people on Instagram have gotten like the advanced copies already, and I've only heard good things so far. So
Oh, good.
I'm very curious, very interested.
I'll have to add that one to my list too. So my third one is called Wild Dark Shore, and it's by Charlotte McGonigal. And I've read both her other books. One was called Migrations, one was called Once They Were Wolves. And she always has a theme of a little bit about climate or kind of futuristic climate change. And this one is no exception. There's a family on a remote island, I think it's somewhere near Antarctica, and they have like a seed bank on the island. And it sounds like there's been climate change and flooding and fires elsewhere in the world. So they are protecting all these seeds for the future of mankind. And one day, this woman washes ashore, kind of half dead.
Oh.
And they have to figure out, where did she come from?
Yeah.
Why is she here? And then you start to realize that, maybe, like the station where the scientists are supposed to be is empty. So you know that something else is going on in this island. So you don't know whether is this family good or are they bad? Like, what has happened?
Yeah.
So that one sounds really interesting and good to me. I kind of like that whole, I don't know why, because it's pretty terrifying, the whole climate change thing,
Yeah.
but I find it interesting. And it's sort of a different background for a mystery. So yeah.
I feel like the setting too brings a kind of interesting vibe.
Right.
Like Antarctica, seed bank.
Right.
I feel like those aren't things you see a lot of.
And there's a family. You
Yeah.
know, there's a man there with his family. I
Okay.
believe his wife is gone. Wife has died or something happened to his wife. So, yeah, but obviously there are secrets. And
Oh,
they're
yeah.
trying to figure out, like, who this woman is and why was she trying to get there, because it's pretty remote. So, yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah.
All right, my third one is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry.
Okay.
I am super excited. I love Emily Henry. I know I was following her like along as she did like the title reveal, cover reveal. So this one's coming out April 22nd, and so it's about Alice Scott, who is an eternal optimist, as she's described, and she's dreaming of her big writing break. And then Hayden Anderson, who is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, which was his description, and I kind of am obsessed with that. They're both on balmy Little Crescent Island for the same reason, and they're there to write the biography of this woman that no one has seen in years. Her family is storied, they're scandaled, and so her name's Margaret Ives, and they're there to kind of write her story based on her invitation to them both. For a 1-month trial period. And so she shares kind of like sheds of her story with them both, but they're not allowed to share them with each other.
Oh,
There's an NDA, and the two of them are kind of like seeming to experience like some tension between each other. I mean, obviously they're competitors, they're there for the same thing.
Right.
So they don't want the other to be able to tell the story, but they can't piece this all together.
on
because
their
of-
own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, there's kind of this like secluded setting kind of feeling. And I feel like Emily Henry is really good at writing about writers.
She's written quite a few about,
Yeah.
like, the writers or the whole book.
Yeah, like her last one, funny story, she was a librarian. She was a
Right.
children's librarian.
Yeah.
All
And
those-
book lovers,
Yeah.
the
People
guy.
who meet on vacation, they're authors. So
Right, yeah.
seems to be a big trend, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. I feel like I have a little bit of a Emily Henry bias, but I'm really excited to kind of see. And I know people have kind of teased that like her title is a little Taylor Swift-esque.
Oh.
I'm not a big Swiftie, but people were saying that there seems to be some connection there. I'm not sure what it'll be, but I am really excited to kind of see how they piece that together. And I do kind of always love like a random like woman character, if that sounds kind of weird. But like when there's someone kind of meddling with the two of them.
Okay.
So I don't really know what her personality will be, if she's just going to be snooty heiress.
Yes.
Or if she's going to be kind of mystery elderly woman with these stories to share. So I think that'll be a cool part as well.
It's kind of giving me, what was that one book by Taylor?
Seven
The
Husbands.
Seven Husbands.
Seven Husbands,
yeah.
which I actually haven't read it, but like I feel like I've picked up enough pieces that I
Right.
kind of have a vibe of. That's kind of what I was thinking, just
Yeah.
like that, elegant kind of storied woman.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how she builds those two characters, but mostly I think for me, I'm very interested in seeing how they write her story.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be kind of cool.
Well, I'm not a huge romance person, but I usually do like Emily Henry, and she's usually pretty funny, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll be looking forward to that one.
And I feel like coming off a funny story, which like for me wasn't my personal favorite, compared to her other ones. I'm kind of, I'm still going to read them and enjoy them.
Do you have a favorite, Emily Henry?
Beach read.
Okay.
Yep, I love Beach read. I like Book Lovers too. I know that's your favorite, right?
Right. I still haven't read Beach Read.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of people, and that was her first novel.
Yes. Which wasn't the first one I read by her. My first one was People We Meet on Vacation.
Okay.
Which again is not my personal favorite.
Yeah.
And I know that's some people it's either like the best book they've ever read or it's like one that they would never read again.
Yeah.
But I know that they're making the movie right now.
I think all of hers have been optioned for film.
a movie,
either
some of
film
them
or
are
television.
TV show.
Yeah.
So I think People We Meet on Vacation is coming first. So
Okay.
I'm really excited I like the cast so far, so
All right.
I'm excited to see what she does with that.
Okay. Well, my next one is kind of a funny, cozy mystery. And I listened to the first one of this, and it absolutely cracked me up, the narrator. This is called Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. And it's by Jessie Q. Sutanto.
I love her.
Yeah. She writes a lot of different things. She writes romance.
Mm-hmm.
I think she has another mystery series, that Dial A for Aunties or whatever.
I like that. She also has done some YA.
Okay.
Oh man, it's gonna kill me. I can't remember the title, but I've read a couple of YA books by her too.
Okay. But this one, Vera Wong is like an older Chinese mom that owned a tea shop, and she had one son, and she was like the ultimate like meddling Chinese mother. And that was the thing that cracked me up the most, were her text and trying to say like social media hip and savvy,
Oh my
like
gosh.
she was on the TikTok and the Google and
Yeah.
other things. But so in the other one, she had a dead body show up in her tea shop. So this one, it sounds like she made little friends and kind of like a new tribe after that event, because she was, of course, investigating the crime herself. This one, she comes across a distressed young woman who is obviously in need of her kindly guidance, and this woman is looking for a missing friend. So it'll be interesting to see how she pieces together this and whether she's going to have more found family. I'm wondering if she's going to be matchmaking her son.
I was just gonna ask if the son played a part in any of this because I could see that coming.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of like her main goal in life, is to find him a good wife. So it'll be a lot of fun, I think, to read what happens in this one, see what kind of mystery it is, and see if it's as funny as the other one was.
Yeah.
So,
Which
yeah.
that's what I remember about Dial A for Aunties is how funny it was.
Yeah.
Like how funny the protagonists were, and I know she kind of has that meddling family vibe around her too. So I feel like that's one I would consider checking out.
Yeah, so I like her,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping it's the same narrator, because that narrator had me literally laughing out loud.
And you did the audiobook, you said?
Yes, I did the audiobook for this one.
That's fun.
Or the first one.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right, my next one is Matchmaking for Psychopaths. It's by Tasha Corral, and it's coming out June 24th. So she wrote Love Letters to a Serial Killer,
Okay.
which I talked about last time I was on Book Break.
Yeah.
And I came across it. She did her cover reveal online, and it's this weird looking, like, kitschy little characters, like, riding in a car. So that kind of caught my attention immediately. But so after an earth-shattering breakup, our main character, Alexandra, throws herself into a job where she works as a matchmaker for psychopaths. But of course, her clients are unaware of that label. And she becomes entangled with two of her most recent clients, both of whom have mysterious pasts that inspire Alex to break work protocol and spend time with them outside of the office. One of them, this woman, Rebecca, is closely coming Alex's new best friend, while the other, Aiden, claims that he and Alex are soulmates and meant to be together. But then Alex's ex turns up dead, and more people around her seem to be dropping like flies. So Alex has to figure out who is targeting her while wondering if her new friendship is a match made in hell.
Uh-oh.
So I am very interested because this seems like another protagonist, like in her last book, that seems a little kind of off in a little way, where she has unique tendencies a little bit. So like in the last one, the main character falls in love with a serial killer who's literally in jail. And it was kind of cool to see her inner thoughts where she's like, I'm not like one of those girls that thinks she can fix a serial killer. And so I'm curious with this one, and I'm kind of hoping it's perspective.
Is it the same woman that was in the last one, or is
No,
this a different character
this is different.
set?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering if maybe there might be a little overlap. I think that might be kind of interesting if, I don't know, if they like mentioned the serial killer from the first book, maybe.
Right, or had like a little cameo or
Yeah,
something.
I think that could be
appearance
interesting.
in there.
But yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we get to hear a little bit from her two like clients here, and I'm curious to see, you know, how one falls into a job as a matchmaker for psychopaths, and
Yeah.
you know, where these people come from. And I'm assuming it's going to be that this girl and this guy are starting to kill the people around her, you know, like, because we want you like for ourselves. So I'm kind of interested to see. That seems like the obvious route to take, but I'm very interested because she kind of writes weird, twisted stories. And the last one had a big twist at the end.
Right.
So I'm hoping for a little something like that.
Yeah, I had to read that one after you talked about that one.
Yeah,
so.
it was good. A little weird. It
Little
kind of stuck.
unhinged,
It still kind
yeah.
of is sticking with me, but I'm curious to see how these two strangers come into her life.
So my next one is called The Sirens by Amelia Hart. And she wrote a book called Wayward, which is about like 3 generations of witches. And this one sort of fascinates me because I'm feeling like they're sirens, so I'm not sure whether they're mermaids or just evil women from the sea.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, it's multiple timelines. This one starts out in it's 1800 and 2019. So in 2019, Lucy awakens in her ex-lover's room in the middle of the night with her hands around his throat. And horrified, she flees to her sister's house on the coast of New South Wales, hoping that her sister can give her some insight into why she had this bizarre dream and why she was doing this. But her sister is missing.
Oh boy.
So, as Lucy waits for her to return, she starts to unearth strange rumors about her sister's town, tales of missing men, spread over decades, a baby abandoned in a sea-swept cave, and whispers of women's voices on the waves. So all the while, her dreams are starting to feel more and more like reality. And then you go back into the 1800s, and you have these 2 sisters that are torn from their home in Ireland and forced into a convict ship heading for Australia.
Wow.
Because that's what they used to do with their convicts in Great Britain, just send them on to Australia, you know? So as the boat takes them farther and farther away from all they know, they begin to notice unexplained changes in their bodies. So this is supposed to be a tale of female resilience, the power of sisterhood, and of course, the magic of the sea. So I am thinking these women do turn into,
There's a lot going on there.
yeah,
Wow.
mermaid sirens. So
Which I've always loved the like lore of sirens. I think it's so cool.
oh, I know, I know, and I'm hoping it's really good.
Is this her first novel? Did you
No,
say?
this is her other one was called Wayward, which
Okay,
was
yes,
pretty good
yes,
too.
about witches.
Yeah.
I have to check those out. All right, my next one is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. It's coming out April 1st, and she is coming hot off of Just for the Summer, which was my like favorite book of 2024. And I'm pretty excited about her new novel. I will say there is not a lot given in the synopsis, at least in terms of like tropes or like things to look forward to. At least for me, it feels very vague, but I'm going to read it. I love her writing, and her love stories are great. So there might be no such thing as a perfect guy, but Xavier Rush comes disastrously close until he opens his mouth and proves that even perfect guys can say the wrong thing. And of course, there's nothing that Samantha loves more than proving an asshole wrong, unless, of course, he can admit he made a mistake. So they go on this incredible, perfect date, possibly the best that either of them have ever had. And Samantha is forced to admit the truth, that her family is in crisis, and unfortunately any relationship at this time, even with Xavier, would be impossible. And she begs Xavier to forget her and their perfect date, to remember that distance or time is enough to forget that something happened between them. And the only thing better than one perfect memory is to make a life and even a love worth remembering. So that, honestly, it has not given too much for me, but I'm interested because Samantha seems to have some family things going on, and I feel like that always brings a good opportunity for, new relationships to form amidst even sometimes maybe a crisis or family drama. And it seems, they're going to have this perfect time together, but then she eventually has to like kind of push him away.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I love the way she writes female characters.
I liked her characters too. I remember in Just for the Summer, though, there was something similar. Like,
Yeah.
they both had something wrong
Yeah.
with their families. Like, she had issues with her mom, abandonment, and I
Yep.
believe his mom, I won't go into it too much, but
Yeah.
it was definitely overcoming some challenges and hardships to see if they could keep
and
their relationship going.
Same kind of thing where like she was like, I can't be in a relationship right now, and so they kept kind of like trying things out,
Right.
Because he was like, I want this to work and I want it to happen. So I think that's the other thing is she just, I don't know, I like the way she writes her male characters too.
Yeah. I thought I loved his sense of humor and everything, and the way he would write
Yes.
lists and send
Yes.
her like little invitations. Like,
And then in the one before that, the Yours Truly, I don't know if you read that one too, but I know those two were kind of connected, so some of the same characters popped out, and I feel like it's the same thing, just
so is this
seeing
one
how-
set in that world, or is this totally
I
different?
don't think so.
Okay.
I think this one's totally different. I had a lot of cover love for it. It's a really cute cover.
Oh, she's got whoever does her cover art is
I know. They're
phenomenal.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, they'll
So,
suck you right in on that alone.
That's good. That was kind of the thing with this one is like, I feel like the synopsis was kind of all over the place when I was trying to like get a read on what this book was going to be about. But again, I'd love her writing. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious to see, what kind of tragic story she writes for these guys.
Right. And hopefully she'll have a good dog or pet, because
Oh,
she
there's
loves
a dog.
her animals. Yeah.
It's on the cover.
Okay.
Where all the other puppies
Awesome.
are.
All right. My next one is called, I must be in my paranormal phase, A Witch's Guide to Magical Income Keeping. This is by Sangu Mandana, and it's coming out on April 29th. I have been waiting for this book. This book was supposed to come out like last October, and then it got pushed off and pushed off. I have not seen an advanced reader copy anywhere, but her
Did she
other
write? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yes, the Secret Society of Irregular Witches.
I loved that one.
I know a lot of people love that
Yeah.
book. It was kind of a nice, kind of witchy seasonal read, but it also had a really nice romance and found family, like
Yes.
all the feel-good
Yes.
things. So this one is supposed to be about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track. Sarah Swan was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead, and then lost most of her magic.
no.
She befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, which is another thing. I love foxes. So the minute she said fox, I was in. And she was been exiled now from the Magic Guild. So now she's trying to help Aunt Jasmine run an inn in Lancashire, where she deals with her quirky guest shenanigans and tries to keep the talking fox in check and longs for the magical future that she lost. So she learns that an old spell book could restore her power, and she finds herself, of course, she finds a gorgeous historian man that
course.
can be the only person who can help her unlock this book's mysteries. So the fact that it happens to be a one-night stand from years ago, totally irrelevant. So we'll see. We'll see how this one all pulls together. I'm wondering why it's been delayed, and I'm really hoping that it's good.
Yeah.
Because I loved that Secret Society of Witches one so much.
That was so good. I
But
love that.
yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this one and hope it doesn't fail me.
I know, and I hope it doesn't keep getting pushed back.
I know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I like the talking fox.
Has a very cute cover too. I believe the little fox is on the cover.
Oh, that is cute.
So,
Come on.
Yeah.
All right, my next one is Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. It's another romance. That's my main genre. I go romance or occasional mystery thriller. This one's coming out February 4th, and it's the next book in her When in Rome series. And so it follows it's like the Walker siblings. So
Okay.
the first one was the brother, and then there was a sister, and this is the last sister. And so Emily Walker hates having her carefully crafted world disrupted by anyone, most of all her legendary nemesis, Jack Bennett. He is the opposite of the romance heroes she dreams up in her double life as a writer, which is why Emily was perfectly happy when Jack left Rome with his fiancé. And the last thing Emily saw coming was Jack's return at the start of the summer after calling off the wedding and ending his relationship. But he's here to stay, and of course, he's her colleague and her neighbor. But Jack Bennett is glad to be back, eager to renovate his house and work on his next mystery novel under his best-selling pen name. So they're both writers. But he realizes he's now neighbors with the one woman who has always pushed his buttons. And of course, he's excited to taunt her amidst his return. And when Emily accidentally sends an email to their school's principal, because they're also second grade teachers at the same school, they live next to each other, and they're both authors.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't know. I feel like there's might be something as too similar.
Yeah.
But she sends an email of her manuscript to her principal, kind of amongst their, pranks, and, they're kind of getting on each other's nerves. And she hates to admit it, but Jack, of course, is the only man that can help her get it back from the school. And so the two of them work together with this unlikely alliance. And I am super excited. Her books they're pretty short. Like, they're not anything too long. They're normally pretty cutesy and silly, and I love the enemies to lovers trope, as silly as might be, because they're old friends and now they work together, they write. So I don't know, I was a little hesitant about them being too similar. Might be a possibility, but I do think it would be cool that they share these things also,
Right.
that they have these things in common. So they'll be second grade teachers, writers, and I'm curious to see them kind of come together. And I like reading like banter.
Yeah.
So
I love good banter.
So I'm very curious to see how she wraps this series up. And I love when they have like cameos from other characters
From
too.
previous people.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one of them owns like the restaurant in town. The sister owns like the flower shop. So of course they're bound to overlap.
Right.
So I'm interested to see their hijinks.
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I'm going to go in a really dark direction here.
Great.
Okay. My next one is by an author named S.A. Cosby, and it's called The King of Ashes. It comes out in June 10th on 2025. S.A. Cosby is, I call him like a Southern dark noir kind of writer. This one, it's supposed to be kind of the godfather of Southern crime. So an eldest son, his name is Roman Carruthers, is summoned home after his father's car accident, and he finds his younger brother Dante in debt to dangerous criminals, and his sister Neva exhausted from holding the family and the family business together. And the family business is a crematorium in the middle of town. And the funny thing is about this author who actually worked in one, so I'm thinking that this is going to be a pretty accurate depiction. He's an interesting guy. So he's written, what was it, Blacktop Wasteland, Razorblade Tears.
All Sinners Bleed.
All the Sinners Bleed, yeah. So I really like his writing, and it is very untypical for me to like this dark kind of gritty stuff. But he also, it's funny in places and different things. I really like the way he portrays characters. So in this one, when Roman comes home, it's set again in rundown Central Virginia in the town of Jefferson Run. And mortality draws even closer when it becomes clear that the crash that landed their father in a coma was no accident, and Dante's recklessness has placed them all in real danger. So,
Already hooked.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty cool. And because he worked in a crematorium, that's such an another interesting setting,
Oh yeah,
You don't read a lot of those.
If you're ever on YouTube, look up some of his author talks and interviews because they're fascinating.
Okay, have
Yeah.
you read him before too?
Well, I read all the Sinners Bleed after we talked about it the first time.
Okay,
That was 2023 when that came out, I want to say.
yeah,
And
that was the one with the father, the two different fathers with the gay son. Yeah, yeah, really interesting.
yeah, sounds pretty cool.
The sheriff. And there's a lot of like white supremacy overtone, but
Right.
is it? So it's kind of all these things. He's so good at taking different concepts and informing them into the story, which is something I think is really cool about him.
Yeah. He's another one, too, that I've both read and listened to his books, and the narrator for his books was spot on as well. Cool. It's like when you find someone that can really like bring your characters to life, and it's just like you're listening to, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very picky about narrators, and he's got an excellent dude that does his.
Yeah, as a new audiobook listener, I feel like that is like make or break. Like I'll hit play, and if their voice is bad, I just return it.
Oh
immediately.
yeah. It's like, oop, done here.
Yeah. All right, my next one is not like something that I would typically read, but I happened to see it on Instagram, and I was kind of hooked. So it's called The Woman in the Wallpaper by Laura Jones. It's coming out February 20th, and this is set in 1700s Paris, and it follows 3 women whose lives collide in ways they couldn't have imagined as the revolution begins to kind of start across France. And so after the death of their beloved father, Sophie and Laura accept work at the Oberst company, and they are known for producing this beautifully intricate wallpaper. But as they begin to work, they notice a peculiar pattern with this same woman who is featured over and over again in the designs of their wallpaper, and it turns out it's the late wife of the owner of the factory, who died in mysterious circumstances and whose tragically short life is memorialized in the wallpaper.
This sounds creepy.
Yeah, and so Sophie begins to kind of get involved in the revolution, so she becomes a little more political. Laura attracts the interest of the factory owner's son, Joseph, and there is a little something familiar about their interactions, and Laura is wondering if she's paranoid or if her life is starting to mirror the scenes illustrated on the wallpaper in her bedchamber, in her room.
Oh, this sounds really good.
And there's another woman, so it's follows these 3, so the 2 sisters, and then Joseph's new wife, Hortense, who hates her life in Paris. She is young, she's spoiled, she's aristocratic, and she feels that she is above the world of the factory, but she too soon becomes obsessed with the woman whose life is illustrated on the walls of her new home.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it sound so interesting?
Yeah.
So these mobs begin to grow violent, and Hortense is wondering if she is in danger of meeting the same fate as the last Mrs. Oberst. So I honestly have no idea what to expect. I'm very, very curious.
Sounds like Poe.
Yeah, definitely has
Very
some Poe.
Baltimore-ish.
Yeah.
And it's set to be pretty lengthy, around like 540 pages. And I'm not normally a like historical fiction kind of gal,
But that kind of has like some horror and mystery and
I know.
Curdling.
different vibes to it.
And well, when I saw the cover, I was like, I wonder what this is about. Probably like a horror kind of book. But then it set the stage for this like revolutionary age Paris, and I don't know, these like young girls who are working, and then this kind of spoiled rich girl. So I'm very, very, very interested in reading this one. So I'm curious to see what's on with the wallpaper.
I wasn't going to talk about this one, but since you brought up Paris, I had to. This one is called Isola by Allegra Goodman, and it's coming out February 4th. And this is an epic tale about a French noblewoman that was deserted on an island, and she has to depend on her own survival skills. The weird thing about this one, it is based on a real story. Like, this really happened to someone. So we find ourselves in a chateau in a village, and Marguerite is destined for a life of prosperity and gentility. And then suddenly, both her parents perish. So she is now the ward of Jean-Francis de la Roque de la Roberval, who is an I can't say this. He's volatile, and he's also in with the king, and he likes to be an explorer. So guess what he decides to do? He takes all of Marguerite's holdings and begins selling them off to fund his own explorations. And then when she gets older and better looking, he decides he's going to take her with him. Like the marriage that she had been betrothed to another like noble family, he breaks that off. And literally, legally, there is nothing she can do. So as they are making this journey across the ocean to the new world, she falls in love with his secretary.
Oh, man.
When he finds out, he decides to let them have their dream life together, and he maroons them on an island off the coast of British Columbia.
Oh, my God.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah. So, but she survives. she's had polar bears like trying to get at her. And I mean, this book, I read an early copy of this book. So it was just like, this is too bizarre to be true.
Yeah,
but it
I didn't know where you were
true.
going with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I guess it's
build-up
not
was
funny
worth
until
it.
the polar bear tries to break into your
Yeah,
cave.
yeah, until you're stuck on an
Of all the
island.
petty things that I've contemplated, never thought about marooning people.
No,
There's a new one.
Yeah, that's brand new.
no, that's a
remember
horrible
that.
way to go. Yeah.
That's unless you train the polar bears.
Yeah.
Are there tips in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the polar bears talk?
No, these aren't like nice talking
Pass.
polar bears, and she's never seen anything like this before,
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, my last one it's called The Geographer's Map to Romance, and it's by India Holton. It's coming out, January, February, April, oh my God, April 8th. And it's the next one in her Love's Academic series. And the first one was The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, which was so good. So it's a historical fantasy rom-com.
Okay.
So it's kind of got a little bit of everything. I know we've got the romantasy sticker on it, but it is also historical. And so this one follows two geography professors who end up in a failed marriage of convenience, and they inconveniently reconnect for an emergency mission. So just like the first one, both these characters, they're all professors. So in the last one, they taught at like Oxford, and I think one was at not Oxford. So Professor Elodie Tarrant is an expert in magic disasters, and nothing can faze her except for her own personal disaster, which was marrying Professor Gabriel Tarrant, the grumpy and unfriendly man she married a year ago, whom she secretly is in love with, of course. Gabriel is also an expert in magic disasters, and nothing phases him either, except for the walking, talking tornado that is his now wife. They've been estranged since shortly after their wedding day, but that hasn't stopped him from pining for her. And when magic erupts in a small Welsh village, threatening catastrophe for the rest of England, they are both accidentally assigned to the case, and they must work together to kind of save the country, which the fate is now in their hands.
And of course, they're going to fall back in love.
Of course. And it says it's easier said than done. Of course, there is no navigational guide for the geography of the heart. Aw. And the first one was so much there. It was like laugh out loud, kind of like funny, very like witty. So like the first one, they were ornithologists, so like bird professors. And so the man is the cousin of the character from the first book.
Okay.
So we've met him before, but we haven't met her. You don't have to read the first one to read this one.
Okay.
But the universe that they live in is so interesting. Like the types of birds that they have, like birds that can shoot fire, like they can like kill people. Like they're big, but like they describe a lot of like birds and magical settings. So it's pretty cool. And I don't know if this one will be at all similar, but the first one kind of had these like background characters that were like orchestrating the whole thing. So it says that they are like accidentally set on this case together. So I'm wondering if there's going to kind of be some meddling side characters like there were in the first one.
Oh, I'm
So it's kind
sure.
of cool to have that commentary. It was just these two guys, and you know, like they're like watching the journey and they're like laughing at them,
Kind of like a Greek chorus.
yeah. Or like kind of as I was reading, I was picturing those like two like grumpy Muppets,
Oh.
you know, that sit up in the box and they're, you know, making sure.
It's not half bad. No, it's all
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. So that's kind of what I was picturing. So I'm kind of hoping that this kind of has that same, like, I feel like whimsy is a
Yeah.
good way to put it, because again, like, I don't typically read like historical fiction, but with this kind of historical fantasy romance, I think it'll be interesting. And I always kind of love, you know, that pining.
Yeah.
I feel like, because since they were together, and I'm curious too, like, what brings people to a marriage of convenience.
Right.
It's not my favorite trope, but like, I'm interested to see kind of that like failed aspect. And I loved her writing. I thought it was like, it had me like laughing out loud. It's like very, very funny.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we've given people some different things to look forward to. I mean, we have some of the heavy hitters in there, but then there's going to be the Rebecca Yarros, Onyx Storm, Frida McFadden is going to keep churning out.
Which, is this actually a new one? Because I know she's been like republishing
I
a lot of her
know,
books.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think this might be a new one. It's called The Crash, Presumed Guilty by Scott Turow. So there are a lot of books coming out in 2025 to
Yeah.
get excited about. So stay tuned, because one of our next things we're going to talk about on a future episode is we are going to have another reading challenge.
Yes, I've been waiting for this.
Yes, so we'll be talking about that, and hopefully there will be a lot of good books for people to read in 2025. So
I'm excited.
we'll be seeing you again in January, and thanks, and let us know what you're going to be looking forward to reading.
Yay!
Book Break is a production of the Reese Public Library, made possible through the support of the Friends of the Reese Public Library. Theme music composed and performed by Sean.